Hello and welcome to Dental Studies Simplified. I am Dr. Ankita Kotecha, and in today's video we will discuss the next technique, that is SPPF, Simplified Papilla Preservation Flap. In the previous video we discussed MPPT. So then the question arises, why SPPF when we have MPPT? Before answering this question, I have another question. Why MPPT when we have PPT or PPF, that is papilla preservation technique or flap? The answer is the lack of or the inability to achieve primary closure of the interdental areas. And that is why Cortellini et al. Came up with MPPT. Okay, agree. To achieve primary closure. Well, it was achieved by MPPT. So then why SPPF? See, when MPPT was performed in the clinical subjects, then it was found that this technique MPPT was more technically demanding and was providing less clinical results in case of narrow interdental regions and posteriors. It was performed everywhere. But when it came to narrow interdental regions and posteriors, MPPT was found to be more technically demanding and provided less clinical results, and that is why, to overcome that drawback, Cortellini et al. Came up with SPPF in the year 1999. Same set of people, Cortellini, Tonetti and Piniprato. Okay. So the first difference, MPPT was given in the year 1995. SPPF given in the year 1999 by the same set of authors. Clear? Now we will discuss SPPF in detail. Before discussing SPPF in detail, a point to be clarified. This doesn't mean MPPT is used only in anteriors and wide interproximal regions, and SPPF is used only in narrow interdental regions and posteriors. I'll give you an example. When we study oral pathology, we have one chapter called tumors of the jaw or the cystic lesions of the jaw. In all those topics, we have few points such as a so-and-so tumor is more prominently seen in males than females. So it means it is found more in males, but it doesn't mean that it is never found in females. It is found in females but in a lesser quantity. Clear? Let's say if they say it is found to be more in mandible than maxilla. That means it is found more frequently in mandible, but it doesn't mean it is never found in maxilla, and so on. Similarly here, MPPT, as already told, it was performed in all the sites. That means it can be performed, but more better results found in anteriors and wider interproximal regions with MPPT, and SPPF gives more better results in narrow interproximal regions and posteriors, but they can be applied in the other sites as well. But the main conclusion here is SPPF provides the better, or let's say the best results in interproximal regions which are narrow and posteriors, whereas MPPT gives the best results in anteriors and wider interproximal regions. I hope this confusion is clear now. With this, we will proceed to discuss SPPF in details. Another point here to highlight, as already discussed in my previous videos in this series, that is, all the techniques have major part of difference in their incision patterns. Rest everything has more or less similar. Clear? So even here in SPPF, the major difference lies in the incision patterns. Remaining steps are similar to that with MPPT. In any surgery, the steps are incisions, reflection, flap reflection, debridement, grafting, whatever indicated, and final step, suturing. Periodontal dressing, as already discussed, if regenerative is attempted, periodontal dressing is anyways not allowed or not indicated because it imposes unnecessary pressure on it. Okay. So we will discuss the incisions first. Again, under incisions, There are three major differences as compared to MPPT. Please be very careful here. First we will discuss MPPT, a quick revision. In MPPT we have two intracellular incisions, non-continuous, okay. Two intracellular incisions followed by one horizontal incisions, non-continuous, okay. First point, second point, and this horizontal incision is a straight incision. So 3 points. The sequence of the incisions, the pattern of horizontal incisions, and the continuity. Here it is non-continuous. These are the 3 points which differs in SPPF. The first difference we have already discussed, that is MPPT is more used in anteriors and wider interproximal regions more than 2 mm, and SPPF in narrow interproximal regions, that is less than up to 2 mm. The second difference in their years, that was given in the year 1995, SPPF in the year 1999. Authors same. Now we will discuss the differences in their incision pattern. Here the sequence is, first they give two intracellular incisions which are separate, non-continuous, and then they are connected by a single straight horizontal incisions. Now talking about SPPF, the sequence is opposite. Here one horizontal incision, then followed by the intracellular incisions, okay. The second difference is this horizontal incision here is oblique. There it was straight, here it is oblique. And then the third difference is here these incisions are continuous. How? We will now understand it on the diagram. On the diagram we have the green lines showing the level of the interdental papilla, okay, the free gingival margin. Now we will begin with the incision pattern. So let's say we have a defect somewhere in this region, assuming the defect is between 1-1 and 2-1. So our horizontal incision, which is oblique, will begin from the line angle. So in this case it is a mesial line angle, mesiolabial line angle. See, this green region is interdental papilla, okay. So from the mesiolabial line angle, it goes obliquely connecting the next wall of the papilla. This is the oblique horizontal incision, and then it continues as a vertical incision. Same on the present tooth. So this is the pattern of incisions. Understood? First, oblique horizontal incision which continues as intracellular incision. So the first difference is the horizontal incision which is oblique. Second difference is they are continuous, and the sequence of the incisions. First they begin with the horizontal oblique incision and then the intracellular incisions. See, one more point to clarify here now that we have discussed SPPF and MPPT. Don't get confused with MIST. Originally, SPPF and MPPT are modifications of papilla preservation flap. Clear? So don't get confused that MPPT and SPPF are exclusive to minimally invasive surgical techniques. No, they are originally modifications of papilla preservation flap. But we'll understand the chronology. We'll discuss the chronology of events. The first ever minimally invasive surgical technique was proposed by Harrell and Rees in the year 1995. The article 1999 that we have already discussed in one of my previous videos. Clear? And then we have these two techniques which are, I am repeating again, they are modifications of papilla preservation flap. They are clearly modification of papilla preservation flap. The main point why we are discussing them under minimally invasive surgery is the next sequence of event, that is in 1995 we have Harrell and Rees who gave MIS. We have already discussed the article. From its article 1999, clear? And then these two techniques 1995 and 1999, And then in the year 2007, Cortellini et al. Again, he proposed MIST, in which they have performed MIST with Emdogain. In that original article 2007, JCP, Journal of Clinical Periodontology 2007, Cortellini et al. Proposed a technique called MIST, in which the flap design is based on either MPPT or SPPF based on the width of the interdental region. Clear? So, summary conclusion of this discussion is MPPT and SPPF are originally the modifications of papilla preservation flap, but these two techniques forms the foundations, or they are the pillars of the next technique proposed by Cortellini. Even these two techniques are proposed by Cortellini. So, of course, he can take inspiration or reference from these techniques. It is their own, these techniques are his own, discoveries. Clear? So, he has all the rights to take inspiration and make modifications from them. And that is what he has done. He has made MPPT and SPPF as the foundation or the pillars of his next technique, MIST. In MIST, what is done is the principles of MPPT or SPPF based on the interdental width dimensions, the principles of these technique plus the principles of minimally invasive surgery are clubbed together. What are the principles of minimally invasive surgery? The two main points in minimally invasive surgery are, first is limiting the mesiodistal extension, that is no longer flaps. Longer flaps are avoided, no unnecessary involvement of the adjacent healthy teeth. So that is the first principle. Second is vertical incisions are avoided as much as possible. I repeat once again, but as I have already discussed in the previous video, but I repeat once again, vertical incisions are not contraindicated. Vertical incisions are the last option. We will discuss this in our further content of the video. Okay, the video is not over yet. Please stay tuned. So this is another very important point to discuss. I have received multiple queries wherein the same question is asked. Are MPPT and SPPF same or different? Are MPPT or SPPF MIST, or are they related? The answer is yes, they are related because they are all ultimately discovered by the same person. So yes, they are relatable. How? That is what I am discussing in today's video. MPPT and SPPF are originally modifications of papilla preservation flap which were taken as foundation or pillars to propose or create the next technique called MIST. In MIST, the flap approach can be either MPPT or SPPF. This is where the major confusion begins. It happened with me as well. Clear? So, if you read that article JCP 2007, it clearly looks like maybe MIST has two types of flap techniques, MPPT and SPPF, but it is not like that. MPPT and SPPF are two separate flap techniques which are modifications of papilla preservation flap, and MIST has just given their incision patterns based on the principles of them. But MIST in itself is a separate topic and separate technique. Only the incisions are inspired or based on the principles of SPPF or MPPT based on the interdental width. Clear? So, if these techniques MPPT or SPPF are clubbed with the principles of minimally invasive surgery, that is, let's say the summary of this discussion is, be it MPPT or SPPF plus the basic principles of MIS gives you MIST. I hope this answers all the queries. I really hope so. So this is the conclusion. I hope there is no more confusion in regard to all these techniques and their relations. Clear? So now proceeding with SPPF for today's video. These are the set of incisions on the labial aspect. horizontal oblique incisions from the mesiolabial line angle and continuing it as sulcular incisions on 2 teeth initially. If it is performed under the banner minimally invasive, it can be extended if it is performed conventionally as a modification of papilla preservation flap or case per se. Clear? Now this flap, labial flap, is reflected as full thickness flap reflection. Clear? After reflecting this flap, if you can appreciate this portion of the interdental papilla which is going to be included in the palatal flap. Clear? Now we have to reflect this papilla. Again, remember, although it is going to be full thickness reflection, but a mucoperiosteal flap elevator isn't used. We don't want to cause unnecessary trauma to this tiny tissue. Why tiny tissue? See, first of all, interdental papilla is a tiny tissue. You have to accept it. Secondly, this SPPF is performed more commonly in narrow interdental regions. So, that means it is narrow. So, ultimately, it is a tiny tissue. And so, we don't want to create or cause unnecessary trauma to this tiny tissue. That is why we will perform careful separation of this tissue from its underlying connections. Okay. So, with the same blade, we give horizontal incision in a buccolingual or a labiolingual direction just to separate this papilla from the bone. This position of the blade is going to be the base of this papilla, this line, the base of the papilla touching the crest of the interdental bone, so that this flap is elevated very carefully and this interproximal tissue, which is tiny, is preserved as much as possible. We are trying to perform the flap separation as atraumatically as possible because this is a special case. It is a narrow interdental region, that is why. Once this papilla tissue of the labial aspect is separated from its underlying connections, then we give the same set of incisions, that is these sulcular incisions on the palatal aspect, and that is how the palatal flap, including the labial aspect of the interdental papilla, is elevated. Same palatal aspect also full thickness flap. Clear? So on the labial aspect we have one horizontal oblique incision followed by intrasulcular incisions which are continuous, and on the palatal aspect we have intrasulcular incisions. Of course there is no horizontal incisions to connect. Okay. So this is how the flaps are, incisions are given and flaps are reflected in a full thickness manner. No confusion at all. Very clear, I hope so. And then once the bone crest is visible or bone exposure is achieved to get access to the defect, we perform the debridement. If indicated, we perform grafting and then come to the final step, suturing. Now here comes another important point. I hope this set of incisions are clear to you all. Okay, with this we will proceed to the final step. So under suturing also we have to make certain decisions. That is, we have to follow an approach, a systematic approach before proceeding to final suturing. What is that approach? The approach to ensure primary closure, because that is why all these techniques have been proposed ultimately, to achieve primary closure. So the first approach is the routine flap approximation. So if primary closure is achievable by routine flap approximation, well and good. But if primary closure is not achieved by routine flap approximation, the next approach is extend the flap mesiodistally. That is, extend this blue line. Okay, sulcular incision. Extend the flaps mesiodistally to achieve flap approximation, primary closure, tension free. That is one important point, tension free. But then if tension exists, then the next approach is periosteal incisions. Careful periosteal incisions, ensuring the blood supply is not interrupted. Very important aspect while giving periosteal incisions. The blood supply shouldn't be interrupted or hampered. And if that also doesn't provide us primary closure, the last option is Don't be shocked. Vertical incisions. As already told you, vertical incisions are not contraindicated in minimally invasive approach, but they are avoided as much as possible. But see here, the last approach to achieve primary closure is vertical incisions. So once the approach is finalized and we can ensure that primary closure is achievable by combination of these approaches, then we perform to suturing. And suturing, as we have already discussed in the previous video, the special types of suturing techniques, if the membrane is performed or placed, sling suture. For this special interdental tissue which is approached by SPPF, we have horizontal and vertical internal matrix suture, and elsewhere interrupted sutures. Okay. So this is how suturing is performed. Periodontal dressing, I repeat once again, is not indicated if regenerative is performed, because it will cause unnecessary pressure or disturbance to the regenerative approach that we have performed there. So this is how SPPF is performed. To summarize this video, two main points. MPPT and SPPF are different in 5 aspects. First is 1995 and 1999. Wider interproximal regions, that is more than 2 mm. Narrow interproximal regions less than 2 mm. Anteriors and posteriors. Clear, these are the basic difference. The 3 differences are in their incisions. 2 intrasulcular incisions followed by a single horizontal incisions. Here a single horizontal incisions followed by the sulcular incision. The horizontal incision is straight, here it is oblique. Here the incisions are non-continuous, that is they are connected later. Here there is no such connected or connectivity done afterwards, they are all continuous in the first place. These are the differences between SPPF and MPPT. First point. Now the second point is MPPT and SPPF are the modifications of papilla preservation flap. Cortellini et al. Made the principles of these two techniques as the foundation or the pillar to propose the next technique called MIST, which was performed in combination with Emdogain. In that MIST approach, the flap design was based on the principles of either MPPT or SPPF based on the width of the interproximal region. That's it. I hope MPPT as discussed in the previous video, SPPF as discussed in the today's video, and so the technique MIST is now clear to all of you. I really hope everything is clear now or started to get clear now. But if you still have any doubts or any queries, feel free to ask me in the comments section below, mail it to my email ID, ask me on Facebook or Instagram. I will try to solve all your queries as much as possible to the best of my knowledge and capacity. Thanks for watching and listening to me. Study well. Have a good day. Stay safe.